The rain came down in sheets that November morning, turning the church steps into a cold, unforgiving throne where Maya sat huddled beneath a threadbare blanket, her entire world reduced to a backpack and the hollow ache of hunger that had become her constant companion. She was 23 years old, though the streets had aged her in ways that transcended mere years, etching lines of exhaustion around eyes that had once sparkled with dreams of becoming a teacher, of changing lives, of mattering. Now, as she pressed herself against the stone pillar and watched well-dressed families hurry past her toward the warmth of Sunday service, their eyes deliberately avoiding hers as if poverty were contagious, she wondered if she had ever really existed at all, or if she had always been this invisible ghost haunting the margins of a world that had no room for her failures. The cascade of events that had led her here played on an endless loop in her mind. The cancer diagnosis that had taken her mother when Maya was just 19, barely into her sophomore year of college. The medical bills that had swallowed her small inheritance and forced her to drop out. The aunt who had promised to help but instead drained Maya's savings account and disappeared. The string of minimum wage jobs she juggled while trying to keep her mother's old apartment, each one barely covering a fraction of the rent until the eviction notice came. The couch surfing that had turned into sleeping in her car until the car was repossessed. The shelter system that was always full, always turning her away. And finally, inevitably, the streets. If you believe that everyone deserves kindness, that second chances can change lives, that one moment of compassion can make all the difference, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment sharing your thoughts, and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us share more stories that remind us of our shared humanity. Maya pulled the blanket tighter around her shoulders, her fingers numb despite being tucked under her arms. She had learned to make herself small, to take up as little space as possible, as if by shrinking her physical presence she might somehow offset the enormous shame that threatened to crush her. People walked by in their Sunday best, their children dressed in crisp clothes and shiny shoes, and Maya remembered being that child once, holding her mother's hand, believing the world was fundamentally good and that hard work and kindness would always be rewarded. The cruelty of that innocent belief now felt like a knife twisting in her chest. She was just beginning to doze off, exhaustion finally overwhelming her hypervigilance, when a small voice broke through the fog of her consciousness. The words came so softly at first that Maya thought she might have imagined them, a hallucination brought on by 3 days of barely eating. But then she heard them again, clearer this time, cutting through the sound of rain and distant church bells. "I think you need a hug," the voice said, and Maya opened her eyes to find a little girl standing directly in front of her, no more than 6 or 7 years old, with dark braids tied with yellow ribbons and eyes so full of genuine concern that Maya felt something crack open inside her chest. The child wore a yellow raincoat that was too big for her, the sleeves hanging past her hands, and she held an umbrella decorated with butterflies that she was trying to angle over both of them. Behind her, about 20 feet away, a woman who must have been her mother stood frozen, one hand outstretched as if she had tried to stop the child but had been too slow. Maya's first instinct was to shrink back, to apologize for her existence, to assure this innocent child that she didn't need to worry about the homeless woman on the church steps. But something in the girl's expression stopped her. There was no pity there, no disgust, no fear. Just pure, uncomplicated empathy, the kind that exists before the world teaches us to look away from suffering, before we learn to protect ourselves by building walls around our hearts. The little girl stood there in the rain, waiting, and Maya realized with a shock that this child actually expected an answer, as if Maya were a real person whose feelings and needs mattered. "You look really sad," the girl continued when Maya didn't respond, "and my mama always says hugs make sad people feel better, so I think you need one." The simple logic of it, the straightforward assessment delivered without judgment, made Maya's eyes burn with tears she thought had dried up weeks ago. She hadn't been hugged in so long she couldn't remember the last time, couldn't recall what it felt like to be touched with gentleness instead of suspicion, to be seen as someone worthy of comfort instead of someone to be avoided. The mother had started moving toward them now, calling her daughter's name, her voice carrying a mixture of panic and apology, but the little girl ignored her, taking a step closer to Maya with the fearless determination only children possess. Maya found herself nodding, unable to speak past the lump in her throat, and then those small arms were wrapping around her neck and the child was pressing close, her raincoat cold and damp but her warmth seeping through, and Maya couldn't stop the sob that tore from her chest. She wrapped her own arms around the little girl, holding on perhaps too tightly, and let herself cry for the first time since she'd lost everything. Great heaving sobs that shook her entire body as this child she'd never met offered her something no social service, no shelter, no well-meaning volunteer had managed to provide, the simple acknowledgement that she was a human being who deserved to be comforted. The mother had reached them by then, breathless and clearly torn between pulling her daughter away and respecting the moment unfolding before her. "I'm so sorry," she started to say, but Maya was already releasing the little girl, wiping frantically at her tears, trying to compose herself. The woman looked at Maya, really looked at her, perhaps for the first time seeing past the homeless exterior to the scared young woman underneath, and something shifted in her expression. Instead of the apology Maya expected, the woman said softly, "My daughter has always had a gift for knowing when someone needs kindness," and she extended her own hand to help Maya stand. What happened next unfolded like a dream Maya was afraid she'd wake from. The woman introduced herself as Patricia, the little girl as Emma, and they insisted Maya come inside the church to get warm and dry. Patricia worked there, she explained, coordinating the community outreach programs, and she had resources that could help. "But first," she said with a gentle smile that reminded Maya achingly of her own mother, "first you need a hot meal and some dry clothes and a chance to just breathe." Emma held Maya's hand as they walked inside, chattering about the butterflies on her umbrella and how yellow was her favorite color because it was the color of sunshine and sunshine made everyone happy. Inside the church basement, in a room set up for community meals, Maya sat wrapped in warm blankets while Patricia brought her soup and bread and hot tea, and for the first time in months, she felt the tension in her shoulders begin to release. Emma sat beside her, coloring pictures of butterflies and occasionally looking up to offer Maya her brightest smile, as if to reassure her that everything would be okay. And slowly, haltingly, Maya began to talk. She told Patricia about her mother, about the series of disasters that had led her to those church steps, about how she'd been trying so hard to find work but without an address or clean clothes or a way to shower regularly, every door kept closing in her face. She spoke about the shame that was sometimes worse than the hunger, the way she'd started to believe she deserved this, that she had somehow failed at the basic task of being human. Patricia listened without interruption, without judgment, and when Maya finished, she reached across the table and took her hand. "The system failed you," Patricia said firmly. "You didn't fail. You're a young woman who got dealt an impossible hand and did everything you could to survive it. There's no shame in needing help. There's only shame in refusing to offer it." She explained that the church had a program for young people experiencing homelessness, that they could help Maya get into transitional housing, connect her with job training programs, provide support while she got back on her feet. It wouldn't be easy, Patricia cautioned, and it wouldn't be quick, but if Maya was willing to try, there were people ready to help her. The weeks that followed were hard in ways Maya hadn't anticipated, because accepting help meant accepting that she deserved it, meant unlearning all the terrible things she'd started to believe about herself. The transitional housing was basic but safe, a small room in a building with other young people trying to rebuild their lives. Patricia helped her enroll in a certification program for teaching assistants, connecting her to her old dream in a way that felt possible now. Emma visited sometimes with her mother, bringing drawings and stories and asking Maya to help her practice reading, treating Maya like the friend and teacher she was becoming instead of the broken thing she'd believed herself to be. There were setbacks, days when the weight of everything threatened to pull Maya under again, when the trauma of those months on the street came rushing back in nightmares and panic attacks. But she kept showing up, kept trying, kept holding onto the image of that little girl standing in the rain, offering comfort without hesitation because she recognized suffering and knew the cure was simple human kindness. 6 months after that morning on the church steps, Maya got her certification and started working as a teaching assistant at Emma's elementary school. 8 months after that, she moved into her own small apartment, a space that was entirely hers, where she could lock the door and feel safe. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that we all need help sometimes and that kindness can change everything, please share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Like and comment below to help us reach more people with stories of hope and transformation. Your engagement truly makes a difference. On the anniversary of the day Emma had offered her that hug, Maya returned to those church steps with Emma and Patricia beside her. She'd brought her own umbrella, her own warm coat, and bags of sandwiches and socks to distribute to the people still sitting where she'd once sat. She knew now that she couldn't save everyone, that the systems that created homelessness were vast and complex, but she also knew that every individual person mattered, that every act of kindness rippled outward in ways impossible to measure. As she knelt beside a young man huddled against the cold and offered him a sandwich and a warm smile, Emma squeezed her hand and Maya felt the circle complete itself, the helped becoming the helper, the broken becoming the healer, the lost becoming the found. Before we end, please take a moment to comment below with one word describing how this story made you feel. We read every single comment and your words mean the world to us. The story of Maya and Emma became the story Maya told her students when they asked about kindness, about courage, about how to help when help seems impossible. She told them that sometimes the smallest gesture, a hug, a smile, a moment of genuine human connection, can be the thread that pulls someone back from the edge, the light that guides them home. She told them that we are all one catastrophe away from needing help, one stroke of bad luck away from losing everything, and that our humanity is measured not by whether we need help but by whether we offer it. And every time Emma visited her classroom, bringing that same bright smile and boundless empathy that had saved Maya's life, Maya was reminded that some angels wear yellow raincoats and butterfly umbrellas, and that the courage to reach out to someone in pain, to offer comfort without fear or hesitation, might be the most powerful force in the world. The rain had stopped long ago, but Maya would never forget how it felt to sit in the cold believing she was invisible, or how it felt when one small girl proved that she wasn't, that she mattered, that she was worth saving. And in remembering, in carrying that forward, in becoming someone who now offered shelter to others caught in their own storms, Maya discovered that being saved wasn't the end of the story, it was just the beginning.